to reconvene.
Yeah, we need to do that. Okay. I motion that we reconvene, the time being 7:12.
Second.
Okay, call for the vote. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew? Myself, yes. Rhonda?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yep.
So we call for the vote on 5A. Dayton? Andrew?
Yeah.
Myself, yes. Rhonda?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yes.
Okay. My motion that we accept the personnel assignments for 5B.
I'll second it as listed. Right?
Yes, as listed. Any discussion? Call for the vote. Andrew? Myself, yes. Rhonda?
Yes.
Dayton?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yeah.
Okay. I motion that we approve the policy and regulation adoption as the second reading for 6A.
I'll second it.
If I could just say something about this. This is a policy to keep school districts in compliance with a new federal law. That is actually being challenged. I think that was discussed briefly at the last meeting.
Call for the vote. Myself, yes.
Yes.
Eldon? Yes. Dayton? A motion that we approve the annual report for the
Second. Okay, so I'd like Steve on that action. This is a different year than the audit that you mentioned. You're ending on July 30th.
Thank you. And this is required by Arizona statute for every school district. And this is something and it just summarizes our financial and some certain statistical activity for the previous fiscal year. These are on forms. They're prescribed by the Arizona Department of Education and the Auditor General, Arizona Auditor General. So and it goes to them, and they use it for their data reporting needs. So that's the purpose of it as differentiated from the audited financial statements. So just a quick review of these forms, just so you can follow. There's the cover sheet. The next page is revenue, and this is revenue from our tax levy funds only. We have 3 tax levy funds that we utilize out of 5 in our district: maintenance and operations, unrestricted capital outlay, and adjacent ways. The next page is our maintenance and operations fund expenditures, and it's kind of stratified different ways based on the column and the row that you're looking at in the cell. Each cell, for example, that the first line is for instruction, and then you'll see salaries, employee benefits, etc. And there are specific definitions in the USFR, which we talked about earlier in my report, for what goes in instruction, what goes in support services for students, instructional staff, etc. So that's all kind of driven by the accounting manual or the USFR. Next page is classroom site fund reporting. The next page after that is the unrestricted capital outlay. And by the way, also what drives a lot of this data and how it's presented is statute. When they pass a law that says we need to collect this kind of information, report it that way or whatever, that kind of is what drives this. The next page are federal and state projects, which is another word for the grants. Next page after that is all the other funds, and then there's some details. I won't go in the rest of it unless you have questions, or you can get with me later on it. So that's kind of a quick navigation of the form. Oh, there's also I think it's like the third page from the last is a summary. That is sometimes easier to, digest. It doesn't include everything, but it kind of summarizes the financial data. So just some highlights, I guess, of this. The estimated budget carry forward from fiscal year 20 to 21 is going to be just a little over $200,000, which is that hasn't happened in a long time, and probably that there's several reasons for that, and I think mainly has to do with the fact that we closed school basically in March, and of course some of those expenses continued, but some of them did not. And so that saved us money. Also, we had the federal stimulus COVID money that came through that we were able to utilize to pick up some of our expenses and so forth. So there's that. And remember, though, and all this is kind of overlaid with the fact that last year, fiscal year 20, was a phase down year of our override, because the override election that we had in November did not kick in until this fiscal year we're in right now, that began July 1st of 2020. So it kind of, I guess from a financial standpoint, it worked out well, even though there are a lot of negatives to what's been, of course, to what's been happening. The estimated budget carry forward for capital is about a little over $46,000. This next part I'm going to cover with you, I actually loaded it into the rationale section of that agenda item, so you do have this in writing if you wanted to refer to it again later. But so our M&O expenditures decreased in fiscal year 20 from fiscal year 19 to 20, decreased by about $279,000. Instruction expenses went up a little bit. They went up 4%. Student support services down 17%. Instructional staff support services down 13%. Administration and central services down 12%. Operation of non-instructional services down 45%, and that's things like facilities mainly. In our district, it's mainly facilities and custodial and that sort of thing. Special education expenses decreased by 2%, and transportation, people transportation decreased by 34%, which kind of makes sense.
So for the whole year, it was 34?
For the whole year.
I was going to say it should have been more than that.
Yeah.
But if it was for the whole year, that makes sense.
Right. And you know what? And you know, when you figure in, that we didn't run buses for about a third of the year, and the other, so along with that, we had planned to cut down and cut out some things, which we did because of like I said, because of the override phase down, and that was certainly part of it as well. So again, like I said, some of that was planned, some of it happened because of the school closure. So that's kind of the highlights of that, and there's all kinds of analysis one could do on this. And so as you look at it, the coming weeks or months, if there's something a question that comes up in your mind or something that you want to discuss or you want some more information on, just let us know and we'll do what we can to put that together for you. So that's it for my part, unless you have some more questions.
Thank you.
I've got a couple. Maybe I don't understand this right, but so the school sponsored athletes is costing us about $169,000 a year.
The school sponsored what?
Athletics.
What page?
2 of 9. Under maintenance and
Probably.
operations expenditures, number 11. It's just some of these numbers that kind of,
Yeah, well, the budget was 169, the actual cost was $125,000, yes, and that doesn't mean, that isn't all of the cost, that's what came out of the Maintenance and Operations Fund. There are other costs that come from, that are funded by things like gate receipts and student,
Tax credits or?
yeah, tax credits and the activity cards and things like that. But that, right, that is what comes out of maintenance and operations.
I just thought sports was running a little closer than that. And then towards the last, on the last page on expenditures, under food service number 13, we're taking 71,000 out for cover the lunches.
Well, that's kind of a long, there's kind of a long answer to that.
5 digits here.
Yeah, pardon?
What page you on?
The last one, it says food services, last one in my little deal,
But look over in the right corner. What does it say in the right corner at the bottom?
page 1 of 1.
1 of 1?
It's a separate,
Oh,
it's a
yeah,
separate
okay.
report. I just tacked it onto the back. That's why it's,
Summary of school district Daniel
So
finance
Steve,
report?
try and take us through it the best that you can. I think everyone understands we get reimbursed some, so it's not, this isn't all out of pocket or, you know, however you want to say it, but
right. Just to make like I said, try to make a long explanation as short as possible, unless you want the long explanation. A couple of years ago, the board took action to increase some funding of our employee benefit plans over and above what we done in the past, and salaries and some other things, and we talked about that might cause us to go over budget in some areas, and that's something that did happen. And so what we did to adjust for that is we tried to minimize what the impact of that would be on our audit and reporting and that sort of thing. And so we moved a lot of those that over expenditure into food services, because that's the one with the least, I guess, consequences, the easiest to fix down the road, which we have fixed, by the way.
which number is a result of that?
So the deficit, let's see. So I'm sorry, Andrew, tell me again what number you're looking at.
I was looking at number 13 on that last one where
It's looking at 71,700.
Right. Uh-huh. So when we moved the 2 years ago, we moved that deficit into food services and carried a deficit into fiscal year 20. And then what we had to do is in fiscal year 20, we had to recover that deficit. And so we moved the money back out of M&O and back into to replenish food service. So
because
that's,
neither am I, because it sounds like, and I'm not trying to be mean or nothing, but it sounds like we overexpended here, so we put it under the food services, and we're almost in paper, rather than Peter to pay Paul, so we can get the less of the penalties for not being on top of our game.
that's in essence what happened. And the board at that time, against my advice, went ahead and voted.
Wait.
Yes,
Which one are we talking
we're
about?
talking about the benefits.
Before you start saying the board, so I recall 0 conversation where you said, if you do this, you're gonna take this much loss and we're gonna put that in food services.
Well, we didn't know how you taught, the instruction to me was figure out how to do it.
Yeah, and you came back and said, I figured out a way to do it, but we said, can we handle it with our budget? And I remember a yes. And
And this is how we handled it.
Just so you know, it looks like we're not online anymore. I was notified Jason must have went home. So I don't know if this is being recorded.
Food service, you're allowed to go over you can go over in that legally, and so that's what, and we knew that,
So what you're saying is, when we asked you to work it out, you found a legal way to borrow from Peter to pay Paul.
Mhm.
Okay?
and it's all been made up now, so, within a year, so, I mean, we're good now, but that's
ऑनलाइन
what
एग्जाम्स का
was-
प्रचलन बढ़ रहा है। ऐसी स्थिति में अन अकेडमी लाया है आपके लिए।
That's interesting.
Go ahead, say
Does
what
this
you're
have to be approved
thinking.
this meeting?
Yes. Well, there's nothing you can do, you're not approving,
You're accepting.
you're accepting the
We
report.
accepting
It's,
this?
yeah, it's
Not
what happened,
this.
it's just,
Or
but, well, both, you're both, but this is
already
this is
happened.
historical data that we're reporting.
Yeah,
It's just the rubber stamp we're putting on it. It already happened.
but a rubber stamp on what happened is fine, I mean, but I'm not comfortable with it. I know what happened, but how do we not, in 12 months, go, well, it's already happened?
Yeah, what are we gonna be able to do to keep that from happening in the future, I think is what is causing the uncomfort.
Well, one of the things is we now have a big, we have a surplus. We have a 15% override that went into place. And so that's not, it's not likely to, it's not going to be an issue going forward.
But is that,
I mean,
but that 15% override, what was it for? I mean, sorry, I just feel like there's a lot of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we may have to tell Paul to go pound sand. Got to figure out who Paul is. Because even in this, we can show a deficit of about $65,000 or $70,000 to the school board association or something like that in this packet. Don't we?
Like,
The building
You wanted-
renewal fund, it says a deficit of 57,716.
building renewal fund works differently. That's not necessarily a deficit. What that is,
And why is it labeled deficit? You gotta remember, I'm private
Right.
sector here, so I don't understand
right.
so like,
Common Core math.
on this report, what I think the governing board would like to see, and everybody actually, is an accurate accounting, like how much this costs us or whatever. And in this case, the food service is skewed. It's different. It's not an accurate accounting of how much it cost us because we had to shift some things, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So that's what you want to know, is like exactly how much it costs us. And not,
And what he's wanting to know is how are we gonna keep this from happening in the future, right?
Yeah, but it's also, so you're asking us to approve skewed numbers.
No, I'm not
Or he's
asking you to
asking
approve
us to
skewed
accept
numbers.
it.
This is what actually happened.
Accepting is approved. I'm not trying to be difficult, but
So let me just try and get,
sure.
so food service, we're talking about cafeteria, correct? Food services. We normally have a huge deficit in that.
We normally have a deficit, not normally that much, but we normally have a
Oh,
deficit
it's
in
pretty
anyway.
close to that. It used to be that much, and then we'd come back.
Yeah.
And the last couple of years, it was right around 50.
Mhm.
So that's an extra 21,000 that we're talking about, or is it not? So to Andrew's point, where do you see on here that it's attached to paying teachers?
Oh, yeah, we can get you, now, that's what I was gonna get to here. So whatever you guys want, we can get an accounting of what was moved or whatever, and get that to you.
One of the
what you wanna
things,
know.
yeah, one of the things that we do, every school district does, as you're preparing your annual financial report, once you come to the end of the fiscal year, you look back and you say, there's some funds that you don't you don't expend necessarily through the year, because you don't know exactly what's going to be in those funds, and because they're, you know, fees or just different things or donations or whatever. And so you go back at the end of the year and say, okay, our intent is these kinds of things, we would use these funds to pay for these kind of things, but instead of coding them to their throughout the year, you wait until the end of the fiscal year and then you do journal entry and to move them out. That's happens. That's part of the process. You go through and do that sort of thing. And so in this case, once those journal entries were done, we ended up with a deficit, a higher deficit in food service than we would have had normally. But there's nothing, you know, there's nothing that's not legal or compliant about going through and moving those monies around to fit where you're actually spending them. And to your question on the building renewal grant, what happens is sometimes we have to end up paying the contractors and paying the bills before we get the reimbursement back from the school facilities board. And that's what happens here. That fund evens out over time. But sometimes it's a timing difference. You don't get the money until after into the next fiscal year.
So we have a deficit to the state because they haven't paid us back.
No, the state owes us money. State owes us money.
Then why is it written deficit?
It's a negative. It's because our reimbursement is less than from the state is less than what we actually spent. Because we haven't got the reimbursement, we're waiting for it, haven't got it back yet. They owe us money. So the ending fund balance is negative because it's a timing difference. If you close out your fiscal year on June 30th and you're still waiting to get paid by a client, you're going to show a negative fund balance until you get paid from the client.
It usually says, as a parentheses, it just looks like it's 57. That's why I say when it says deficit 57 to the state, to me it says we're in the hole to the state, $57,000.
Well, that's not what that means.
Well, then I don't understand Congress either.
What page is that one on, just so I can?
That is on page
6 of 9.
No, well, I'm going into the big book, and that's on page 49.
Oh,
Different year.
But I thought we were approving both of them.
well,
But I wasn't going to bring up this one if we weren't approving both of them.
you already approved the audit. This is the annual financial report that goes to the Department of Ed. If you want to understand this better, then the thing to do is you know, we need to get together and go through and kind of talk you through how
So basically
school
what
finance
you're-
works.
So the way I understand what this is saying is we were awarded money to pay for this building.
Mhm.
We did not get all of the money for it, but we did pay all of the bill that we needed to
Yeah,
pay.
it's
And
a
eventually we will get the money
Right.
and that deficit will go away because
Right.
the money will come covered.
right. It's a timing difference. Yeah. That's
Like a
normal,
grant or something.
that's normal stuff.
Well, it's a, I think that's what you.
They have a
pay
board
you inside.
of like 9, I think it's 9 or 12 people down in Phoenix, and they approve these, and they mail us the thing, and then we sign it, or the governing board president sign it, and I sign it, and usually the business manager, and it binds them to that amount for these BRGs. So that's what those are. I think some districts may not pay their contractors until they get reimbursement. That may be a good way to make some contractors mad because of the bureaucracy or red tape, you know, waiting for payment there. So we've tried to pay our people, at least as long as I've worked here, as quickly as we could, and then get on them for the reimbursement.
And so to pay them, we didn't have the money in that fund, so we had to rob it from,
Well, no,
Well, that's different.
No, you're allowed to go negative on that fund because everybody knows that the county, the state knows that that's a reimbursable fund. And so you're allowed to go negative in there until, with the
so
understanding
we're allowed
that,
to write hot checks, is that what it amounts to?
no, we have cash, it's
It's
like
in their
if you-
account.
It's like if your personal budget, well, it's not anywhere close to personal budget, but the analogy is you got a personal budget with different categories that you spend money, but as long as you have money in the bank to cover it, you're good, even though you may have spent more for groceries this week than you planned. It's kind of like that. We had money in the bank. to
We
cover
have,
it.
the school has an SFB account with that money in it, but they don't transfer it to our county to give into our school account until some things happen. And so that's one issue, but don't confuse the issues. So when we talk about building renewal,
Money in the
that we
balance.
have an account, and when we're awarded money, like the 300,000 to SD Crane, so that's sitting in an account in Joseph City's name with the school facilities board. All right, and they transfer to our county into our account when all the papers have been submitted and all the reports, invoices.
Most of our
But you
federal and
just said
state boards.
that a lot of schools don't pay their bills until they have that money.
I didn't say a
So-
lot, I said I think some schools may not. But go on.
It works the same with most federal and state grants. In fact, with SFB, you know, we try to wait until we get the money from SFB before we pay the vendor. It doesn't always work out. But with federal grants, you have to spend it out of your cash on hand and then apply for reimbursement after you've spent it. Always, that's how it works. So.
That's the administrative cost for managing the grants.
Yeah.
This is accounting.
And is that the reason that you're,
That's different.
okay, well, answer his first question, because you're just confusing me more and more.
Well, he asked two completely separate.
Sorry, I thought the
things.
first question we moved on from.
This doesn't have anything to do with food service, that what we're talking about right now.
Right.
So just,
Okay, I get this part.
okay.
That's a reimbursement, okay, so I understand that. I've done federal grants, federal stuff before. So fine. Okay, seeing how I'm just being honorary here. Shows that we had paid $1,700 in credit card finance charges. The fool's tax. I mean, I think we can get out of paying those, hopefully, otherwise we're spending money that we don't have.
We work really hard and try really hard to avoid that. What ends up happening sometimes is we get the credit card bill. We can't pay a bill, any kind of bill, until we have all the documentation in order and everything in place, including not just the invoice, but the authorizations in place, make sure the quotes are all there and everything. And sometimes that doesn't always.
But no, you can't authorize to pay, but this is money, because you can't assign a PO until you have all that stuff.
Well-
This is money spent, but no PO to back it up if we're paying late fees.
No, there's a PO. There's a PO when that always in place before we spend the money. And so for example, somebody goes on a trip with kids or whatever, and they take a gas credit card and they're supposed to turn in the receipts when they get back, but they don't, or they put them away somewhere and they got to go find them. But we cannot we can't pay the credit card. We can't pay the vendor, who in this case is the credit card company, until we have all those receipts in place. And so sometimes that happens after the due date of that credit card statement.
$1,700 is more than sometimes.
Well, we spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars through credit cards every year here.
All right.
So,
We pay nothing.
Is there room to improve on that?
well, yeah,
Like,
but different when you're dealing with 100 people trying to bring back the receipts and make sure they've been signed off and make sure everything's in order. It just takes a little more time to do that. And
So then let's go to
sometimes-
prepaid. We're gonna pay $1,700, maybe we need to give them prepaid credit cards. To me, that's
We can't-
unacceptable,
that's illegal.
Bookkeeping
That's
is
ille-
still gonna be just as
but
important.
we're not paying $1,700 in fees.
That's illegal for a school district to do.
And I think we need to find a way out of $1,700 in late fees and stuff, because that's, to me, we're gonna go here 2 seconds talking about paying teachers an extra $25, or paying them, which they need. But sooner or later, we gotta tighten somewhere, otherwise, when something happens, we're up a creek. I mean, if we don't pass the,
$1,700 would help us keep the pool open longer.
Probably
couple weeks.
Yeah, but it would.
I'm just saying,
What can we do to help?
Bill, if I can throw out something, the high school probably spends a good chunk compared to the elementary because we got programs and, a bunch of different organizations going on. And we really focus on Amazon because that's the cheapest place to get things. And so they buy all the stuff we buy on Amazon, which is most of our orders are credit cards. So, I mean,
it's probably several $100,000 a year.
I don't know how you could avoid not using some type of card. And
But,
I think it has to be a credit card.
But from what he's saying, the people who are doing it are not getting
Correct.
him the
That does happen.
paperwork.
That does happen.
So that needs to be improved.
Why can't we pay the credit card without those receipts?
Then we get audit findings, because in a school district, you have to have everybody signed off and all the documentation in place before you pay for something.
the school district don't have petty cash.
Maybe that's something, I think it is something we need to look at and see.
We have a revolving fund that you might be considered, in your opinion, it might be considered.
Well, I
Even then,
get
you have to have-
where he's coming from. If it isn't written down, it didn't happen. So if it didn't happen, he can't pay for it. Am I right?
That's right, and what's the remedy? Well, probably disciplining some employees, maybe firing some employees, at some point in time if it doesn't, that's the remedy. But we can keep after them, and we do. Don't think that we don't, that's what Selena does. And Selena is pretty on top of that, and she's after people, and
They just did a training this last week on trying with teachers at the high school. at
yeah,
least,
yeah.
Or I think both campuses.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not aware that we were that late, that was pointed out here. So if we get them in faster, we can avoid those charges.
Mhm.
Should try and make an effort to, definitely.
Well, and it shouldn't all be on Selena either. The people that are spending the money need to take the responsibility and turn the stuff in. With Amazon, most stuff gets delivered real quick. So there's no reason why you should not be getting your paperwork.
With Amazon, you should be able to set it up to where you get an email as soon as they hit purchase.
The employee does not purchase from Amazon. The office does.
So then because, trust me, my wife knows when I walk out of Home Depot, she gets it that fast. Same with Amazon. When I purchase something, you should be able to set it up to where you instantly get an email. And if it's an Amazon deal, that should be avoided.
No, it's typically not. Amazon isn't.
And most
isn't
other
what's-
credit card companies have an online account where you can go onto there and print out a receipt for them. Where you'll actually see, and I know everybody does it on their debit card, it does it on everything. You swipe the card, you go home, 10 minutes, open it up, you just bought $20 of fuel at Maverick. So there are ways around them not doing their job too.
Yeah, we're aware of that. It's usually things like somebody took the Walmart card to go down and then they forgot to bring back the receipt, or to Home Depot. And when you already have an outstanding balance every month of $5,000, $10,000, and you're a few days late, you know, it generates fees. But,
A few days, like 30 days or?
no.
You're a day late, you're 10 days late, yeah, you're late.
I'll put it to you this way. My company gets more benefits from credit card companies a year than you guys pay in fees. Because we play it right. And if we can't play the game right, we need to play it differently. And we can't.
Oh, yeah, I just
Why-
got
why don't you-
$1,200
Why don't you
back
come in
from
and,
mine.
why don't you come in and visit with Selena and I, we can walk you through what we do, and if you've got some good suggestions, then we'd love to hear them.
I mean, because that's, I mean, she got $1,200.
Right,
we'll be-
I know what you're
We'll
talking
be
about now.
available, you know, tomorrow, next day, whatever, come in.
Because it, and I'm not trying to be mean, and I'm not really trying to tick anybody off, but the more I review this, the more it looks like we're spending money that we don't quite have. But it's coming, but we don't have it. We're robbing Peter to pay Paul. I mean, number 3 on this thing, on the same page where it talks about credit cards, talks about how we move money around. We got 25 local deposits that, you know, weren't made at least weekly. These are big ticket items, in my opinion. I mean, I can handle some of the other stuff, but, you know, 25 local deposits that weren't made.
No, 1 out of 25.
Okay,
So they sampled 25.
Yeah, they
They
sampled
sampled
25
25.
and they found 1.
so I'm just not trying to be bad, but
No, and that's fine, I mean, I'm not, I don't,
We have.
you
things we can
have
look
every
at.
right to question and ask those things, but I would also expect that, you know, let's get together and get some answers for you. And the best way to do that is to come in the office, sit down with the people who do the work, and we can kind of walk through it and see where the gaps are, in, you know, and where you might have some suggestions for us. That's the best way to make that kind of improvement. And by the way, school districts aren't allowed to have credit cards with
Benefits.
benefits. So anyway, there's just a lot of things that are different.
that's fine.
about what
I
we
mean,
do.
I'm just saying, there's
Yeah.
ways to run a zero balance. And if we're playing with other people's money, we need to be more cautious, because
Right.
we just went to the community and said, we need more money, and then I look at this and, do we need more money, or do we need better money management?
But one thing I would appreciate though is you know, just decline some of these things. We're not, particularly when we're talking about reimbursable grants, it's not spending money we don't have. It's, you know, it's the way governmental accounting works. We have the cash in the bank to cover it. It's you have to spend the money and then they reimburse you for it. That's part of the contract. That's just how it works. But anyway.
But it almost seems like, okay, for that, it's okay to spend the money that's not there, but then we can't pay a bill until we have all the paperwork. It's almost like a flip-flop.
Well, that's the difference between, in one scenario, it's do you have the cash to pay the bill? Yes. The other one is, do you have all the paperwork to satisfy the auditors?
But we still have to have it. They still audit the grants.
Yeah.
And we have to have all the same rules for that. We just don't get the money until all of that is done. Accounted for.
I have to go back to sorry. Since you said, oh, the board directed me to use, I don't understand. So help me understand, why would you take money out of food service? And the line that it's listed on is the food service management, so I'm assuming that's what we pay to the management of the people that are running our food service.
Mhm.
For paying teachers, we said we needed to do a raise or to add benefits, which I still feel like we needed to do. And why would that come out of food services?
It sounds like to me, Eldon, and
Why
I'm not-
wouldn't it be
I'm not
listed
speaking for Steve, but
underneath?
listen to all this, it sounds like to me, what he did is we needed 21,000 more in M&O. We didn't have it. So in order to do that, we had to move some, pay less on the food service debt so we can have 21,000 M&O to balance that sheet out over here. So then the next year he rolled around and he says, oh, food service is this much in the hole. I've got it in M&O now. Now we can balance the ship back right. That's what it sounds like he did. Because he couldn't take a negative balance in his M&O because that would get us in
But we've
whatever.
already taken negative balance in our M&O from food service. We
No,
already do
Not at the end of the
no,
year.
No,
We're
He did
spending
not-
$45,000 to $50,000
but not a
a
carryover
year
to
out
the
of
next
M&O into the food service.
But not a carryover to the next year. We couldn't carry that negative balance anywhere, listening to this story, except for right there. That's where he found financially to put it there until he had more money in the account to now make it balance out better. But yes, we
So
carry
what's
it.
the difference between negative in food service or a negative in employee?
Like M&O
the,
salaries
just
or
the laws that govern what you can and
You
can't
can't
do,
have-
are different for each of those.
I'm sure he'll tell you that you can't have a negative balance when it comes to the end of the fiscal year. That's why he has to close the books.
But we
and-
can in food service.
Yes.
Yes, that's what he said, yes.
Don't worry, your social security is good too.
It's just,
You know what, we'll talk after the meeting on that one. I got a story for you, buddy.
Sorry, that's just some of the deals that
That's
I
fine.
struggle with, because that I honestly believe is gonna be Joseph City's biggest issue in the next 5 to 10 years. If we don't strap down right now. Because we're not taking it out of teachers. I'll never approve to cut and make a single cut in a teacher. And when I look at that and I see that we lost, however it was fabricated before the piece of paper I got, I can't tell you. All I can tell you is what the piece of paper says, that we lost $71,000 in food.
So,
So to me, the first thing that says is, sounds like we need to cut some food out because that's a teacher and a half.
so what,
Well, nothing we do makes money here.
No, but we don't need to lose so much. And how can we as a board figure out what's losing the highest amount of money to? Maybe we need to cut this area or that area when our numbers we get have already been through the Rob Peter pay Paul.
Well,
But but we did it for teachers.
the,
We,
But the
robbed food
papers-
service to help the teachers that.
I
okay,
understand.
so back
The
to
papers we
the,
got don't show that.
well, that's.
Right, but he told
Right,
you.
and that's not that's not the purpose of this, is
So then I'm-
to break it down to that level of detail. And we can do that separately, but not in here.
I guess audits are different on.
okay, so I want to go back to the 1,700 in charges. You said we could discipline and fire people. Well, is it 20 people? Is it 5 people? How many people aren't doing what they're
Well,
supposed to?
Well, I don't keep a list. I'd have to sit down and talk with Selena.
Not an official list.
Not an
We-
official list.
Okay, so here's my point. If they're being paid, part of what they're being paid to do is spending this money, then they're not doing their job if they're not turning their receipts in and it's costing the school more money. Maybe it needs to be explained to them that way. Because I'm with Andrew as far as if they can't turn the receipts in. I recall you and I were working on an area a couple of years ago, and I had to wait several months to get a bottom line on what it cost, and for that exact reason. There's no reason why it should take months and months to get a bottom cost. Because we're waiting on people to turn receipts and stuff in.
Let us look into this. I think you guys are onto something here. Let us research what is causing the interest, like the timing on those receipts.
And blame it on us. Blame it on us. Tell them the school board is coming down on us. We got to come down on you. I'll you put my name in there. How about yours?
Twice.
How about you?
We need to know what's going on.
Unnecessary expense, yeah, that's totally reasonable.
Honestly, my biggest deal is with this, from what I've gathered from here. Now, remember, I looked at this for maybe 2 hours last night. I have no accounting information other than the School of Hard Knocks.
So,
We shouldn't be able to pull up that easy. And the numbers that I get, I want them to be accurate. If you're gonna sit there and say that's a bunch of BS, but here's the real ones, then I can almost handle that rather than, here's this, approve it, we're $70,000 in the hole in food. That's the bottom line of what the paper says.
Understood. We have a separate food report that he's provided before, like that shows that kind of information. This was a total one for that fiscal year. But I totally understand what I think you're saying there. So let us look into the receipt, and we can also run another report on this if you guys want to see that next month or whatever.
But meanwhile, we need to put our stamp of approval on this, right?
Acceptance, yeah.
you know, I've been on the other end of the stick, okay? And I'll get 3 different credit cards with the van, go on a trip, then you gotta find a place, and
It takes a
Shell
credit
is one
card.
of them. They won't take the dang credit card. And it's a pain in the backside, so it goes both ways as far as getting stuff that works and being able to return it back in.
But we're
as
reserving
quick as you
judgment.
can.
Yeah, I understand. We're not judging anybody yet.
I honestly feel like our employees are probably trying to do the best that they can in
Yeah.
a situation like that. There's
Right.
been a couple of times where I've got to get gas to get home. So,
This could have been unavoidable. I'm not saying it's bad yet. You're right. So no judgment, just let us look into it before we start, letting our
And
minds run wild with
one
what it
last
is.
thing on this. You're gonna move money like that because of something the board said, and then you're gonna throw out later that the board did it. When you're making that move, I would really appreciate being told, okay, I'm taking $20,000 out of food service to do what you asked me.
I agree.
Not when we said, hey, we
Well,
want to do
and I
this, we
think
did direct you to
We
do
didn't
it.
bother asking him either. We didn't ask him. He
Yes,
said
we
he
did.
took care of it, and we did not ask, or he would have told us.
No, I asked, well, where is it coming from? He said, I found it. That's what I remember.
I tried, Steve. I can't back you up no more. He's got you on that one.
So,
Well, I don't think it's pointing fingers and whatever else. I think we
No,
gotta
but-
get things figured out, what we need to do. And I think Mr. Fields is looking at that. We'll do some research on it and find some things. But yes, I agree with Eldon. When we give directives and you do, in my opinion, like Eldon said, if it's something like this, I think the school board needs to be
where? am I
told,
getting into?
hey, this is what I figured out, so this is the
Because this is
direction
the
I'm
legal
going.
way I can do
Yeah.
it. You know, I mean, that
I
makes sense to me.
assumed that we had money somewhere that we were using for this, not pulling it from somewhere else to go farther in debt in somewhere. That's the part that bothers me, is going in debt somewhere else or not paying or whatever we're doing to get this. I thought the money was allocated somewhere else that we figured out, and so this. But I also understand we didn't, at least that I remember, dig to push that. But I do remember also what Eldon said, it was found. Well, why should we question anymore then?
I would like to know this where, I mean, it's just, and this is not, straighten me out on this, Steve. We aren't $71,000 in debt. I mean, we had it somewhere, correct?
Yeah,
I mean, because we're not allowed, I mean, we're given a budget and we have our override money. We are not allowed to go past that.
Yeah, but
Right,
that was
right.
before the override kicked in, is what you said earlier,
Yeah.
But we
correct?
still had a budget.
And we had money coming in later. Am I correct? That's why he was able to
Well,
pay him back.
yeah, and And you don't always know until the very end, because, things come up. We're talking about,
Staffing.
So has
$5-6 million.
this money that you had to use in a different place, have you now got that money? And
Yes.
is this zeroed out?
That's fixing it. That's fixing, yes.
Fixing or fixed?
It's fixed.
Well, because I am not understanding, I don't see no negative there.
So wait a minute, you can't take money from this to pay for last year, from this year. Can you? That's what I'm not understanding.
Yeah, some of our funds from this year help cover.
Last year's stuff.
We're getting, trying to.
Where
measure
are
that
those
down.
funds coming from that you're covering last year?
Out of this year's budget.
General budget funds.
But we
Well,
are running in the
This
negative.
is from two, so in fiscal year 19, is when that problem came up. In fiscal year 20 is when we were able to move money back
But where
into,
did the money come from that we were able to pay it? Did it come from,
different,
like you said earlier about getting the money to pay the contractors? Sometimes it takes a while. Was it like that? Or are we spending money out ahead of ourselves to pay back here?
when this came up, we at the end of the fiscal year, I said, we go through all those funds and we look at, okay, what's left, because we, in some of these other funds that are insurance proceeds, different things that we collect money over the fiscal year. And then at the end of the year, we say, okay, where do we need it? And then we'll move it around. One of those is the rebates we get from APS on our solar plant. We don't know how much that's going to be exactly until the end of the year, so we wait until the end of the year to do the journal entry. We know we kind of have an idea, but we don't have it down to the dollar. And so at the end of the year, we look at all that, and where we move, how we move depends on what it is and what's allowable for those funds, legally allowable. So for example, in that those rebate funds and the energy saving, it's called the Energy Savings Fund. We looked at, okay, how much did we end up at the end of the fiscal year? Now let's move some of that into M&O to help cover utility costs and that kind of stuff. So it's it depends on, what the fund is.
I thought that fiscal year ends at the end of June and the new fiscal year starts 1st of July.
Mhm.
Once the fiscal year was done at the end of June, and I'm just going off of when we order stuff. There's been several times that we need to get your orders in because we want to get it on this fiscal year. We can't go to next fiscal year. I thought we were done with the fiscal year at the end of June, and then when we go into July, we don't take money out of that fiscal year and put it in the previous fiscal year.
That's correct. And you have 2 months, basically until the end of August, to pay your bills from the previous fiscal year. And then you have until, and the same thing with revenues. Sometimes you'll have revenues come in.
So were those revenues that you paid it with from the 2019 fiscal year?
Revenues that
You paid us, getting us out of the hole there, did they come from 2019?
yes. I
Okay,
think I understand the question.
good
yes.
now? So you weren't robbing from the next fiscal year to pay the debt that we were in the last fiscal year. I'm just wording it different. I understood what you said.
But,
What was our balance as of June or July? It's July, at the end of
June 30th.
June 30th, what was our balance on the books at June 30th? Negative or positive?
For 2019, correct? Is that what you're asking?
are you talking expenditures? You're talking cash? You're talking, there's a lot of different ways
The whole
to be
thing.
specific.
P&L, profit and loss. That's the simplest way. I mean, that compiles everything. And so once everything's compiled, were we black or red?
We were black in everything except that food service fund.
So we were red.
Yes.
So then we took the red to the next fiscal year, used the money from that fiscal year to make it look black.
To repay that fund.
So we took a debt from the 19 to the 20, or 18 to the 19, whatever. We took a debt.
Well, it's not a debt. It's not in the same.
No, because what he said was the funds that came in
From the
in
next
those
fiscal
next
year,
2 months
paid. the
were,
previous-
but they were earned before the end of June, before the end, am I right? The money that you paid that,
Well, that's the case for all those grants. That wasn't, that's not the case for that food service. So that happened in the next fiscal year. That you keep in mind, you're allowed to spend whatever you want out of M&O for food services. Okay, I mean, there's no, you may not want to, but there's nothing, nothing against the rules with that. And so in the next fiscal year is when we moved, then we paid more of that food service bill out of M&O in order to build back up the food service fund. So all of that is, I mean, all that's perfectly legal. I mean, you may not.
Yeah, we're not
Like
worried
it.
about legal.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
understand what you did is legal.
right.
but what we don't like is that we are cutting into the money for the next fiscal year if it was indeed money if it wasn't earned. I understand getting checks later. I'm waiting on the government to send me checks right now that they owe me.
Well, all I can tell you is I do my best on this stuff.
You
And
what?
I do my best. We all do our best. And, sometimes it's really hard, but we do
And
our
we
best.
ask a lot of you.
And
All I'm asking
And
is
what-
the funds, ultimately, was it income for that same fiscal year, or was it income for the next fiscal year? So we had to pay out of the 2020 income to pay a debt from 19.
and with food services in fiscal year 19, the cash balance in that fund was in the hole. In fiscal year 20, we paid more of the food service costs out of M&O than we normally would to relieve that fund, that food service fund, so that would build back out. Now, and this is fund accounting, it's governmental accounting, which is totally different than private businesses. So you've got a food service fund, and then you've got an M&O fund, and you can spend money out of either, and other funds for that matter, you can spend for food services. Okay, it doesn't all have to come out of the
That
food
part
service
we
fund.
get. What I want to know,
Well, so let me try and help you. This is the one though that you said that we rolled money over. But we have extra money that we rolled over. Okay, so.
from 19.
Money, right?
Yes.
Okay,
We put money from 20 into 19 to pay for that food.
however that happened, at this point, we have 200,000. Is that the number you used?
That rolled over
That
from
we
last.
rolled over. We have taken that, you have an X amount of money that you can roll over compared to a percentage of your budget. And I can't remember what that was.
I
We've
remember
gone
hearing
through
about that,
forward.
yeah.
And we had used all of that, and my memory says that that's what we used to pay the teachers. Apparently not, but now we have money back in that fund. So as long as you're rolling money over the next year, you're not taking money from the next year.
So
because
we
you're rolling
rolled money over in
into the next
19?
year.
Into 20?
In some funds, we did not in
Okay,
food
let me put it
service.
to you this way. We owed APS for July. were we able to pay out money we had coming in from July to pay that? Or did we have to use some of the money in August to pay the July bill?
We paid for it out of that fiscal year. of July.
That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
For that, but the food service, we borrowed it.
Yes, 1 year.
No, I'm talking, I was using that as an example. You said that we have 2 months after the fiscal year ends,
To
that we
use-
still have money coming
To
in.
use any allocated funds such as POs.
I think what Steve is saying is that the food service thing that he borrowed from to use for the teachers did not get paid out of the 19 fund. It got taken out of the 20 fund. At least that's what I'm understanding from what he's saying.
You're still out of the 20 fund.
Yes, but we still roll.
But if we hadn't have had the COVID, we wouldn't have had all that money. So this is a bad practice, it's the whole
Not,
point.
I think we would have had some because we are getting more, but yes, that may.
But if we, this is
We've gone around and around. Here. Just,
Peter's out and Paul's beat up and let's go on.
it sounds like we need to hear that if we're going to do something like that, we would like to hear about it prior to. Say that, bro?
Yes, for me at least.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so to clarify that even more, if it's gonna put our fiscal year at a negative, I don't care where it's at, we need to know. I realize we said, Steve, fix it, do it, you did it. Well, now we're reneging and saying we should have known better. We should have known more of the details. You didn't do nothing wrong, we were ignorant of the details. We need to not be ignorant.
Yes and no, because there's other things that let's just put it this way. We would like to be able to make the decision on something like that,
Mm-hmm.
to where say, no, we don't want to take money out of the food services, let's find another place to do it. Or
Well-
something like that.
Well, I can tell you on this particular issue, I consulted with like the top auditing firm in the state, and this is what they told me to do.
That's what they recommended for
Yes.
you. Okay, and that's cool.
And they said,
I don't have
anything
a
else
problem
you
with
do,
that.
anything else you do is gonna get you in trouble with the state. This is the way to do it.
Okay.
Are you ready to vote on 6B? It's already been, it's the same thing we're on.
Bringing it.
Dayton,
Yes.
Andrew,
No,
myself, yes. Rhonda,
Yes.
Eldon? Move on to an action item of setting two different things, so it's understood. An appreciation breakfast that we talked about, and also a governing board training. So two different things.
You're on D, oh wait.
C.
We're on C. Okay, sorry.
There's some dates suggested. There's probably some other dates that we could do. We talked about having a breakfast, like on a Friday morning before a in-service or enrichment day or something like that. And then we also need to do a governing board training. We also talked about doing a walkthrough maybe after the breakfast.
The dates are, they're not on the paper, but 21st, 22nd, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, or 30th of October.
So, those are, obviously, some of them are Fridays, but not all of
The
them are
30th
Fridays.
is our next enrichment Friday, and it doesn't have to be that day, but that's a day where the teachers would have some time.
Actually visit. if you
Yeah,
wanted to
I
visit.
mean, if you wanted to do a 7:30 breakfast and have them just come grab breakfast on the way to
So
their
it sounds like the
classes.
30th is the day you think we.
It depends on what you're looking for.
October 30th.
Yeah, if you're wanting them to have some time to mingle and kind of, spend some time with the staff, then that would be the date. If you're just looking to do the breakfast.
Are we
and
gonna
then-
do it in one spot and everybody come to that spot?
That would
Would it be
probably
easier to do it in the
be
cafeteria,
best.
or would it be easier to do it outside?
Where it's just a date. Come up with a date.
Yeah.
But we could do it during the week, that's not a problem. And if you want to do a walkthrough afterwards, it would be better to do it during the week.
If we want to do a
It
walk.
just depends, if you just wanted to see the facilities, so Friday's just fine, you
Yeah.
can not distract and.
I think Friday would be better myself for a walkthrough, and you can see without.
You can come
worrying
any
about
day
it.
of the week if you want to see the kids and teachers in action. You come anytime.
The 30th sounds good to me. 7:30. We probably need to be there before that to set up.
Can we say 8?
8?
Unless that's gonna be a problem for your guys' schedule.
Well, who's doing we talked
Who's
about
cooking?
it.
I think this is my opinion, not a dime should come out of the district. And if the board members want to chip in, fine, and community members want to chip in, fine, if not, we'll find a way to make it happen. I think it would be, I don't want to do anything to get anybody in trouble, I prefer to do it out in the dirt, or out on the parking lot somewhere. Throw a couple, I mean, just not hot dogs, sorry, wrong time. Just pancakes, syrup, orange juice, super simple. Anyway, I did that thing on the 4th of July, it only cost a couple $100.
Heading a little cool. Huh?
Cool.
Do that at the patio.
The last day, closing day of it.
That's a good place, out there on that patio.
Pool party.
Places to sit, stuff like that.
Only problem is the elementary has to come
How'd
up
you
there.
think
It's
about
all right, it's.
And we don't mind traveling either, so it's not a big deal.
Outside of the.
I mean, if it's the first thing they do, then it's on their way to work, so it's not like it's that far away. Usually.
So we're saying
7:30.
30th of October, 8 o'clock.
7:30 or 8, either way, whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
8
matter.
o'clock, and some of us will have to be there beforehand to start.
Yeah, good cook.
Andrew, are you?
I'll get everything together for and whatever, and we'll just go from there.
So are we?
If anybody wants to help, I'll gladly.
So are we
Push it
saying on
on.
October 30th at 8 o'clock?
Is when we're gonna start feeding, correct? So we need to be ready
I
before
got
that.
that.
Okay.
So I assume, I'll make a motion that we do set the staff appreciation breakfast for October 30th at 8 o'clock.
I'll second it.
Carson, you already motion.
I just said that we were going to set a date. I didn't motion the date. So now I seconded it. Eldon said the 30th, I seconded it. So now we need to make sure that that's a board meeting.
Yeah,
Well, you
I'll have
better
that.
start it at 7, don't you think?
We can get together at 7, but,
But she has to
But the
post
meeting-
it.
oh, yeah, you're right.
a soft, we call it a soft posting.
Okay, 7.
Okay, and then we need to figure out a
We'll
time.
send out an email to staff, the principals or I will make sure everybody's invited. The government,
So let's just. That one.
We,
that was his motion,
Yeah.
just that.
now, call for the vote. Eldon,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes,
myself, yes.
Yes.
Andrew, Dayton?
Yes.
Okay, now we need to look at, board training.
That was right afterwards.
What, what training are we
Well,
talking about?
That's the
Yeah.
walk.
This is a training that I'm recommending. I asked a trust representative, Jim Walker, to come in and did this for us a few years back. Actually, it might have been a different trainer, but we had this scheduled last year, remember, during COVID, and it got canceled.
yeah.
So this training takes about 2.5 hours. Open meeting law, legal compliance, things like that, probably should be separate than this. So the walkthrough after the breakfast, but like the dates I sent you or have on the backup for the training, or we can do it some other time if those don't work for us.
So we need 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be during the day, but during the evening.
right. I don't have, do you have those dates, Kathy, in front of you or anybody?
It says
Log
the-
on.
October 21st and
Okay.
30th, which is 30th is a Friday, Thursday. Wednesday, Tuesday, so the 27th would be a Tuesday.
I can't do it then.
It would be a Wednesday. Could be- So that throws out. I don't absolutely have to be there.
And then next week, look good for anybody or everybody?
What about the 21st?
Eldon said it'd be
I mean, but I don't have to be there. I'm gonna be in Mississippi.
We'll zoom you in.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be in Mississippi visiting my daughter on the 21st.
Well, what about the 28th then?
Wednesday, I'm fine with that.
That works.
What time?
6, same time as our meetings.
Okay.
Get darker earlier.
Tentatively, we'll set it for that, and I will send out a reminder to you, and I'll line out the trainer.
That would be 10, 8.
That's-
6 p.m.
Okay, so.
Do I need to
Make a
put that on the
motion
calendar?
that we set the governing board
District
training
calendar?
date and time as 10 to 8.
I'll second it.
Okay, call for the vote. Dayton,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
myself, yes. Rhonda,
Yes.
Eldon,
Yes.
okay.
I think
So
this will be good, so thank you guys for
we
coming.
got that taken care of. Is there anything we need for the next, is,
Now we gotta go to 60. Right.
Yes.
oh,
Go ahead.
yes, sorry.
Um,
No, the field trip got canceled. Yep,
When were you gonna tell us?
I didn't know you wanted to go. They were gonna go to the Grand Canyon and they're told them that you can't go in more than groups of 10, and so that kind of squashed
Sorry,
it.
I forgot something. I
Sorry,
motion
Mr.
that we
Fields.
approve the distance learning pay for teachers.
I'll second it.
Okay, do we have any needed discussion?
Is this significant? I mean,
In what way?
is there a lot of hours?
For the high school
No.
core class teachers, some of them have a good chunk.
Probably under 10.
Oh, a week, yeah, under 10 a week.
So let's
Pardon?
get specific
Under
about
10 a
this.
week
Per person?
for a few of them. yeah.
Per
Some will
teacher.
Be less.
There's
Let's
many,
ask the question that you're wanting to ask. Do we have money in our budget to do this without taking out of food services?
I say shut the pool down tomorrow and that'll give us an extra $1,400.
Yeah, we were gonna do the position, remember? So this, I think.
And
will be
that's what
less
I was
than
kind of, what I was alluding to. Since we had approved a position, is that gonna cover what we budgeted for that? Or I don't even know, did you even budget for it after we approved it?
If you approve the
the
position,
distance learning.
yeah,
We had a distance learning position that we approved.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you had budget
Yeah.
for that, or we wouldn't put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine that the budget is not coming from services. It's coming from somewhere
you
else.
imagine correctly.
Okay.
So is the amount that we're talking about covered in what you budgeted for the pay? For the distant, yes?
Uh-huh.
The additional COVID money helps cover that, or is that already spent?
COVID money.
And will this end assuming that COVID is, we no longer have to do all the COVID stuff? Is it for this,
Yeah, once it
is it for this school year?
It's an hourly. thing,
Yeah,
it's
unless
not a
it can-
salary.
Continues, yeah.
But I mean, are we looking at this throughout the school year or until all the kids are back in school?
And, yeah,
Okay,
until there's no. more
As they
distance
come
learning.
back, it'll decrease for sure. you know, each quarter we'll get more and more back and it'll
Okay,
decrease the
so-
hours.
But isn't there, I mean, this is kind of off the subject, but it applies. The distant learning cannot go on forever, right? I mean, there's going to be a cutoff, whether it's mandated by the government cutting us off on extra money or something.
Right. So what's the question?
Am I right there? I mean, when the government
year.
cuts us off,
This year,
It should come to an end, I would
June
think.
30th
Yep.
is my plan.
It is next fiscal year.
okay.
That's the plan.
I think it needs to be made clear,
It's a temporary thing, not a
yes.
temporary, still to be determined.
I actually think this solution is a good one, all the way around. I consider it a win-win, and actually, the idea, originated with Mr. Mills with the hourly pay. I think that was good. Principals like it. I think it's gonna benefit the kids, benefit the teachers.
Yeah, is hourly
The whole
pay in
thing.
line with what? An hourly pay is for a teacher.
Well, it's according to our salary schedule.
That's good. And this is above and beyond from the regular workday.
Yeah, I saw in the write-up that they have to be doing it now.
And it's retroactive to, I
Yeah,
think it was
that's
the
what I
9th
was
or
just-
whatever. Not a problem with that.
Was this classified as a stipend or how they classified?
An hour,
It's
hourly rate.
Extra duty pay.
So if teacher
Wouldn't
A
it be?
spends 3 hours this week,
I understand that, I'm just looking at
They turn in a
other
time
things I don't
sheet.
want
they'll
to get
be turning
into.
a time card that us as principals will be monitoring, looking at what they're doing.
Okay, so here's an example.
I understand the base of it. I understand it, but I get into other things I really don't want to. As long as it's contractual and we're all right, then fine. But we don't want to get into any overtime or anything like that.
No, that's
They're
where,
exempt, teachers are exempt from the Fair
Can't get paid
Standards Act, so
overtime.
they don't have overtime.
No wonder they work so much they can't have a choice.
you have to send them home.
So we're ready to vote?
Yeah,
Eldon,
Yes.
myself, yes, sorry, Rhonda,
yes.
Andrew, Dayton. Okay, does November 10th work? That's the next scheduled board meeting. Is there anything that we need to,
Are we just gonna, I mean, I'm just trying to keep.
well,
you
there's
on
only
task.
discussion and,
Discussion items, information items,
Anything we had,
yeah.
request for future.
This could be very much inconsequential, and you guys probably don't want me prolonging this meeting anymore, but I did kind of want to say this because I forgot to say it earlier. You know, going back to approve those 2 contracts for all that money. The board only has to do that if it's a contract over $100,000. So there were other other contracts and contractors that did work, but you guys don't have to approve that if it's not over $100,000. Like I said, just a formality. So anything over 100,000 will have to be a separate agenda item. The contract award. A lot of money. That's procurement.
is there anything that we need to look at the next board meeting? Because I skipped that part. Other than I think we want
We have a
some,
few things like that other grant that didn't get approved this time. It has to be on there. And there was some coaching that got today that I don't know. Well, I have to ask how we're going to cover it until that meeting. Unless you guys want, we could squeeze a couple things in, have a short meeting after the breakfast if it was a real emergency to get the coaching going. I'll check.
Yeah.
And that
Paid
could
coaching
be,
or volunteer?
it's paid coaching.
There's some junior high assistant wrestling and else.
November 10th is not before that though, huh?
Some of them
It's
will
after
start.
the start of junior high, yes.
Yeah, so some of them would want to start before that. So if the board doesn't mind, I mean, speak now if you get angry about it, but you could throw a couple of things on at the breakfast. Yeah, or the training. Yeah.
I think the training is probably
It's
better.
fine.
It's not much area.
And then November 10th is good?
I say November 10th is great. You've
Okay.
asked it 5 times and nobody's answered you. I apologize. I apologize, nobody's answered.
So I open that we adjourn the meeting at 8:32. Second. Okay. Call for the vote. Eldon? Yes. Rhonda?
Yes.
Jake? Andrew? Oh, yes.